July 4th represents the birth of our country. Another event in the same month speaks to something else. A time when our nation was put to the test during the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. Mark Strassmann has the story of some Civil War-era trees standing witness.
Gettysburg, America's Armageddon. In 1863, two great armies, the blue and the gray, collided here for 3 days. It remains the bloodiest battle in U.S. history. And improbably, 155 years later, there are still living witnesses here from that moment in time, otherwise gone to dust and glory.
This is a witness tree here from the Battle of Gettysburg.
Angie Atkinson is a supervisory park ranger at Gettysburg National Military Park.
Given where the tree sits, it would have witnessed action in almost any direction.
It would have. For many years after the Battle of Gettysburg, we had the veterans that we could speak with, or we would have the descendants of the veterans that we could speak with. And so now the closest living connection are these trees.
Across its 6,000 acres, rangers have documented at least a dozen witness trees that were alive during the battle. A Massachusetts bugler sketched this swamp oak where Union General Daniel Sickles made his headquarters. And today, this massive landmark is known as the Sickles tree.
It witnessed a general contemplating a decision whether or not to move his men forward. And even today, it stands here as a witness to people who are still visiting this battlefield 155 years later.
These witness trees remind park visitors of every age that the Civil War is hardly ancient history.
This particular witness tree is probably at least 200 years old.
Inside the park's visitor center, this tree limb on display, riddled with shrapnel and cannonballs, illustrates how lethal the battle really was. Historians estimate 7 million bullets and artillery shells were fired during the battle.
If it did this to a tree, what the heck did they do to each other?
No one knows the exact number of witness trees here. They're often identified by photos, sketches, and burial maps. Some reveal themselves after they fall.
Hidden away under years of growth, is a bullet that could have taken someone's life or did take someone's life. These are little windows into the past.
This black walnut tree stood in the middle of Pickett's charge, which historians consider the war's most pivotal moment. Across the field, a mile-long column of rebels began that charge from under these trees, which still stand today.
They would have watched these men take their steps across the farm fields, not knowing whether or not they were going to survive.
Period photographs confirm more witness trees on other Civil War battlefields. At Fredericksburg, Virginia, a Union doctor wrote about this Army field hospital. A grand old oak gave shelter to nearly 50 men. The Brompton oak still stands today. At Antietam in Maryland, the most iconic witness tree of all is this sycamore. It still stands next to the Burnside Bridge, a survivor of the bloodiest single day in all of American history, 23,000 combined casualties.
During this 3-hour siege on the bridge, there was a small American sycamore sapling right next to the bridge, right where the Union attack was being repulsed over and over and over again.
Landscape historian Jonathan Pliska was part of the National Park Service's Witness Tree Protection Program.
Miraculously, the tree not only survived, but grew to this amazing specimen we have today. As a historian, it's the most relatable thing I could possibly imagine.
Relatable because?
Everybody knows trees. Everybody appreciates trees. I've never met one person that says, I don't like trees.
Trees that once lent shade and comfort to soldiers with just hours to live, that uniquely bring America's bloody past into the present.
You can put your hand on a cold cannon, But the idea that that tree is living and existed during the time of the battle for many is very powerful. Life is still springing from something that was so tragic.